and thank you for joining us on the very first episode of the LeadrPulse Podcast. Matt, my dreams of becoming Jimmy Fallon, it's happening.
We made it.
We made it.
We're here. The podcast is happening. We've been talking about it, and it's finally here, and I couldn't be more excited.
Me too. I'm so excited. Well, I'm Holly Tate. I'm our Chief Marketing Officer here at Leadr.
By the way, how fun is it for you to say that?
So fun. Yes. Just got promoted to Chief Marketing Officer about a month ago. Literally a month ago. So, yes, that is very fun. CMO. Here we go. But we here at Leadr, we're all about people development. We so strongly believe that developing your people is what drives performance. So much so that Matt and I wake up every day thinking about how do we enable that through our tech platform, which is called Leadr. We can't spell very well though. Or I should blame that on you, Matt, as the founder. You can't spell. L-E-A-D-R.
Well, we've already got the accent as a problem, so I can't even say the word leader right. But I mean, spoiler alert, the website was just a lot cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, the web domain, cheaper, for sure. Well, I'm joined by Matt Tresidder, our co-founder and CEO, who ain't from around here. But Matt, I would love for you to kind of share your story, not only about you, but also how in the world did this Leadr thing start?
It is so exciting to be doing this, Holly. I mean, we've been dreaming and scheming about this for so long, and it's really exciting to be here. So as you said, I'm Matt. I'm the CEO of a company called Leadr. Originally from New Zealand, a place a little south of Dallas, Texas, which is where I live now. The company I was a part of before this experienced a lot of hypergrowth. And I think outside looking out, everyone has maybe strong affinity or desire, or maybe even jealousy or envy to want to be a part of a hypergrowth organization. And what hypergrowth meant for us was we went from 5 employees to about 500 in about 4 years. And we went from 0 to about 100 million and ultimately had about a $2 billion valuation in the same period in about a 4-year time frame. Wow. And outside looking in, everyone's like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. I wish I was a part of the rocket ship. And that's true. But inside looking out, the growing pains that we went through as an organization, and not only as a team, but me individually, I went from a team of 1 to a team of 150 in about 2.5 years. And again, it sounds great and it sounds really exciting. And there are certainly aspects of it that are. But I learned so much of what not to do during that time. We had so many mistakes, whether it was about communication or hiring or culture or performance management or how to develop and coach people, that if I could go back and do it again, there would have just been a lot of ways that I would have led differently. And that was really, those growing pains is where Leadr was birthed from. So we started this company, May 2020 is when we launched, which by the way is a great time to launch a startup.
Yeah.
And, it's been a wild ride. We serve around 1,000 customers today. We just released our book, Management is Dead, which is my hot take about how people want to be led and developed and not managed. And when you get that formula right, you actually end up having much higher performing teams anyway. Hey, presto, crazy concept. So we're going to unpack all of the journeys that both Holly and I have had, because we've lived very parallel lives in terms of the journeys that we've had in our careers and how we've grown and developed and changed as leaders and all the mistakes that we've made along the way. And it's just really fun to be able to share that with the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll never forget. I got a LinkedIn message from Matt 4 years ago-ish now.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. And he told me he was going to be in Houston to meet customers. And so we met at a coffee shop, and 3 hours later, nerding out about leadership development and business, and just realizing that our stories were so similar of, really kind of growing up in our 20s in one place, which is so rare for people our age, Matt,
right.
Now, in our mid 30s now. But that was so rare for us to have that experience and be able to now bring that to Leadr and be able to make a dent in the world around needing to create better leaders in the world. I don't think anyone would disagree that we need better leaders, but how do we actually do that? That's the part that's rough, and we're going to unpack that in this season together, learning from incredible leaders. So first of all, want to shout out your co-founder and co-author, Chris Heaslip, who was kind of our inspiration for doing this. You'll hear about this more later on in this season of kind of how this podcast came to be. But it's been an idea for a long time. And then Chris was finally like, guys, you've got to do this. And so
Stop talking about it.
yeah, stop talking, start doing. So grateful for him. You'll get to hear more from him later on in this season when he interviews Jeff Lewis, who has some really hot takes on venture capital and really the why behind business psychology and what it looks like to really create mission-driven businesses, which is a fascinating conversation. And then we kick off the season, Matt, with Frank Blake. You want to tell us a little bit about Frank Blake?
Frank Blake was the ex-CEO of Home Depot. I Googled it right before I jumped on the call and met him. And what was the count, Holly? 450,000 employees at the time?
Yeah. Yes, about 500,000, I think. Yeah.
And so he spoke at a conference that we were also happened to be at, and he was walking through the lobby, and you said, Matt, go shake his hand. And I walked up and I shook his hand, and he was so warm and welcoming. And I said, I would love to get to know you a little bit more and meet you. And I sent him an email, and he's like, yeah, let's do a podcast. And I was like, this can't be this easy. And Frank and I had the most incredible conversation, and I was just struck by his humility, but also just dropping pearls of wisdom every 5 or 10 seconds. And you just had to sit there and catch it, and you'll get an opportunity to hear our conversation in our first few episodes. Really, really encouraging stuff.
Absolutely. And then you got to talk with Elizabeth Bryant, who is the Chief People Officer at Southwest Airlines, which we have a little saying here at Leadr. It's called Holly Bingo. Southwest Airlines and HubSpot and Seth Godin. Those are like the top three of Holly Bingo. And so I think I literally got chills when she replied to the email that she would do our podcast.
She was just for such an incredible role. First of all, the Chief People Officer of Southwest Airlines. How amazing is that? That
incredible.
With all of the priorities that Southwest must have, that they prioritize people and development and coaching as an inherent part of their culture. And Elizabeth is just so humble and also just an incredible servant leader. That was a complete honor and privilege.
Absolutely. And then we also got to learn from one of our favorite leaders. We wrap up this season with Patrick Lencioni, the founder of the Table Group. We have had the joy of partnering with the Table Group now for, at the time of this recording, about the last 7 months, really working together to build Leadr Advantage, which is a full organizational health platform. And so to learn from Pat in this season, we got to unpack 3 episodes around your conversation with him. What was kind of the highlights, so you can give people a teaser to stay with us through the whole season, because we wrap up with the very best Pat Lencioni at the end.
Yeah, I'm not understating it by saying we will discuss in one of those episodes the biggest leadership lesson I've personally had in the last 12 months. And Holly can attest the style of leadership that I had a year ago in terms of how I led the executive team here at Leadr, and how I do it today is night and day. It's certainly the biggest leadership lesson I've had, and the way that I coach and develop and provide feedback in the last 12 months. And so we unpack that. We talk about how uncomfortable that was for me, and how Holly got to say, told you I was right. And it just had to be a best-selling author to actually get you to change. But no, it's a really great episode, and all 3 of them actually, and I can't wait to share it with everybody.
So good. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. This is not your typical podcast, in the sense when Matt and I were creating this, nobody needs another podcast, right? We really wanted to make sure that we thought intentionally around how do we create a podcast that actually drives actionable insights for leaders and isn't just another interview list of podcasts. So how this is going to work is Matt and Chris Heaslip interviewed each of our guests, and those conversations were typically anywhere from about 12 to 20 minutes. But as you're going to hear, they were jam-packed full of actionable insights. So what Matt and I did is we took it one by one in little bite-sized pieces. And so, for example, we're going to kick it off with Frank Blake in this next episode. And we have 4 episodes where we're unpacking different parts of their conversation. And so we go really deep on one topic per episode. They're pretty bite-sized, so great for a commute, anywhere from about 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the episode. And then at the end of our time unpacking that guest, then we're going to release the entire interview. So, for example, with Frank, the next 4 episodes are me and Matt unpacking that conversation. And then the next episode is the full interview with Frank and Matt. Same thing with Elizabeth, Jeff, and Pat Lencioni. So we really hope that you go along on this journey with us of diving deep in one topic of what it really means to lead well in each of these areas as we develop our people and drive performance. So Matt and I had a ton of fun doing this with our first season of the LeadrPulse podcast. Cannot wait to hear your actionable insights and takeaways. There's a couple ways you can do that wherever you're listening to this, whether it's on your favorite podcast audio app or you're watching us on YouTube, which I will say, don't miss our YouTube channel because the videos we have hilarious, outtakes and little pop-ups throughout the video. So go catch that if you'd like. And then we want to make sure that you're subscribed to LeadrPulse, which is our weekly email that we send out every week, where you will get reminders about what's coming this season. And again, just reminders of those actionable insights. So can't wait to hear your feedback. And Matt, anything I missed?
You nailed it, Holly. I can't wait. It's fun wrestling with the topics that were shared. It's fun disagreeing about them. And also, given that we work together every single day, sharing both sides of the story, what it was like for me in the manager role, what it was like for you reporting to me, what it's like on both sides of that equation, and how it's not always sunshines and butterflies. I mean, there was some spicy moments. I liked it.
Yep. Hot takes, spicy moments, and very vulnerable. So
yes,
get ready and enjoy Frank Blake and this next episode. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the LeadrPulse podcast. We'd love to hear from you. What actionable insights are you taking away from today's conversation? You can email us at hello@leadr.com. That's hello@leadr.com. You can also pick up Matt and Chris's book, Management is Dead, where we go deeper into these concepts of what does it look like for people to not be managed, but instead led and developed? Because we believe that people development is what drives performance. So check out our website at leadr.com, that's leadr.com, where you can subscribe to LeadrPulse, our weekly email update where you can hear all about our podcast and all that we're up to here at Leadr. We'll see you next time.